There was a moment in my life when I realized nobody was coming to save me. The titles didn't matter. The positions didn't matter. The respect I thought I had? Gone. Or at least it felt that way. I was the man people came to for answers. And suddenly, I was the one sitting in the dark, asking questions I didn't like. Everything felt broken. My confidence, some relationships, my sense of who I was as a leader and as a man. What I'm about to share with you are not theories. These are the 7 lessons that took me from being that broken man to becoming what I now call the untouchable man. Not a man who can't be hurt, but a man who cannot be destroyed by what hurts him. These are the 7 lessons of the untouchable man. Lesson 1. Pain into power. The first lesson came when I stopped asking, "Why is this happening to me?" and started asking, "What is this trying to teach me?" I remember sitting there, replaying betrayals, failures, the moments I felt disrespected or overlooked. For a long time, I used those memories to hurt myself. I'd think, how did I let this happen? How did I not see this coming? Then it changed. I started treating my pain like a teacher instead of a prison guard. Every painful moment became a piece of data, a conversation I ignored, a red flag I waved off, a boundary I never set. Pain became a file folder labeled, "This will not happen to me the same way twice." As a leader, that shift was powerful. Instead of hiding my scars, I started using them to make better decisions. Who I trusted, what I tolerated, where I was blind. As a man, pain stopped being proof that I was weak. It became proof that I was still in the fight. An untouchable man doesn't run from pain. He interviews it. He asks, "What did you come here to show me?" And then he turns that answer into policy for his life. Lesson 2. Ruthless self-ownership. The second lesson was brutal. Everything in my life was either what I created or what I allowed. That was hard to swallow. It was easier to say, "They did this to me, they didn't support me, they betrayed me, they didn't listen." But when I was honest, I saw my fingerprints everywhere. I saw the conversations I avoided, the standards I compromised, the disrespect I let slide because I didn't want to be difficult, the times I knew better, but chose comfort over confrontation. That's when I started practicing ruthless self-ownership. In leadership, it meant admitting, if the culture is messy, I allowed a mess. If the communication is unclear, I failed to make it clear. That didn't mean I was the villain. It meant I was responsible. In relationships, it meant asking, why did I let this person stay in my life after the 3rd red flag? Why did I explain away patterns that hurt me? The moment I said, "This is on me," I didn't get weaker. I got the steering wheel back in my hands. Ruthless self-ownership doesn't mean blaming yourself for everything. It means recognizing that as long as it's always someone else's fault, you'll always be someone else's victim. Lesson 3. Strategic emotional control. The third lesson was learning that I could feel everything without obeying everything I felt. I used to react. If I felt disrespected, I snapped back. If I felt misunderstood, I over-explained. If I felt betrayed, I wanted everyone to know my side of the story. That kind of emotional reflex costs you respect, peace, and power. I started building what I call emotional lag time, space between what I feel and what I do. Now, when something hits me, an email, a comment, a decision that feels like a slap, I don't rush to respond. I let the emotion show up. I acknowledge it. But then I ask, what outcome do I actually want here? And what response serves my long-term goals, not my short-term ego? As a leader, that means I don't make policy from anger. I don't make promises from guilt. I don't make threats from fear. In relationships, it means I'm no longer dancing to every trigger. I choose my response. Sometimes my response is silence. Sometimes it's a firm conversation. Sometimes it's distance. Untouchable doesn't mean unfeeling. It means I don't hand the controls of my life to whatever emotion shows up first. Lesson 4. Boundaries as armor. The fourth lesson was understanding that access to me is a privilege, not a default setting. There was a time when I felt I had to be available for everybody, all the time. Answer every call, respond to every message, fix every crisis. That created a life where I was always on, always depleted, and always a little resentful. I had to accept that a man with no boundaries becomes everyone's tool. So I started defining what I would and would not accept. In leadership, in relationships, in how people spoke to me, in how they showed up. In leadership, that looked like clear lines. When I'm available and when I'm not. What gets my energy and what doesn't. Who has direct access and who doesn't. Not out of arrogance, but out of stewardship. I am responsible for my energy. In relationships, boundaries meant this. I'm not repeating the same conversation 10 times with someone who has no intention of changing their behavior. I can love you and still step back from you. I can care and still close the door. Boundaries are not walls to keep everyone out. They are doors that you control. They are armor for your mind, your time, and your heart. A man with strong boundaries doesn't become cold. He becomes a standard. Lesson 5. Selective trust, not cynicism. The 5th lesson was learning to trust with wisdom instead of trusting with desperation. For a long time, I trusted quickly. If you said the right words, looked the part, or made me feel seen, I opened the door wide. I handed out trust like a gift card that never ran out. That's how I ended up blindsided by people I never should have given that much power to, so I changed my approach. Now, I trust slowly. I watch patterns. I listen more than I talk. I don't ignore the quiet discomfort in my gut. I don't force myself to give people a chance when their behavior has already told me the story. As a leader, I still delegate, but I verify. I don't give someone the keys to critical areas of my life or work until their consistency has earned that trust. In relationships, I stopped falling in love with potential. I pay attention to how people handle no, how they act when they're not getting their way, how they treat me when they don't need anything. The untouchable man is not paranoid. He's prepared. His heart is open, but his gates are engineered. When betrayal comes now, it may sting. But it doesn't collapse my whole world, because I no longer build my world on any one person. Lesson 6. Discipline over mood. The 6th lesson was understanding that I am defined by my standards, not my feelings. There were mornings I didn't want to get up, conversations I didn't want to have, responsibilities I didn't want to face. My mood said, "Not today." And for a while, I listened to that voice. The result? Inconsistency. Good days and bad days ruled by how I felt, not by who I said I was. So I made a decision. I will build a life where my habits are stronger than my moods. That meant setting standards around my health, my work, my time with God or reflection, my preparation as a leader, and then honoring those standards even when I didn't feel like it. In leadership, that looked like showing up prepared, doing the unglamorous work, making the hard calls even when I wanted to delay them. In relationships, it meant keeping my word when it was no longer convenient, being the same man in private that I claimed to be in public. Discipline is not punishment. Discipline is proof to yourself that you can be trusted with your own life. A man becomes untouchable when his routines, his principles, and his standards don't collapse every time his feelings change. Lesson 7. Purpose and legacy above ego. The 7th lesson was this. I had to decide what my life was really about. Was I chasing applause, or was I building something that would outlive me? There is a huge difference between wanting to be respected and wanting to be useful, between wanting to be admired and wanting to leave a legacy. When I was broken, a lot of my pain came from ego. People not seeing me the way I wanted to be seen, not appreciating what I thought I deserved, not honoring me the way I thought they should. When I shifted to purpose, the questions changed. Instead of, do they like me? I asked, does this decision serve the mission? Instead of, do they respect me? I asked, am I building something worth respecting? In leadership, that meant getting comfortable with being misunderstood for a while. Not everyone will see the vision. Not everyone is supposed to. In relationships, that meant being drawn to people who wanted to build with me, not just benefit from me. People who cared about where I was going, not just what I could give them today. The untouchable man is not a stone. He's a lighthouse. Storms hit him, waves crash over him, But his light stays on because it's not about him. It's about who he's guiding. I didn't become untouchable by avoiding pain, betrayal, failure, or heartbreak. I became untouchable by refusing to waste them, by turning pain into power, by taking ruthless ownership, by mastering my emotional responses, by building boundaries as armor, by trusting selectively, not cynically, by choosing discipline over mood, and by anchoring my life to purpose, not ego. If you're listening to this and you feel broken, I've been there. I know what it feels like to question your value, your judgment, your future. I know what it feels like to look in the mirror and not recognize the man looking back. But here's what I also know. A broken crown can still be reforged. The pieces of your pain, your mistakes, your losses, they can become the metal of your armor, if you're willing to learn the lessons. These are the 7 lessons of the untouchable man. The only question left is, which lesson do you need to start living today?